Hello guys, welcome back to the channel for another hockey video, and if you're new here, my name's Tyler and I just do consistent content on all things related hockey in the NHL overall, and I spent hours preparing for this video, but here we are. We have another mock draft. I think this will probably be my second to last mock draft. If I do one more, it'll be right before the actual NHL draft happens, and it's less than a month away. I believe it's October 6th and 7th. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below, but I'm pretty sure that's when it starts, and then October 9th, I believe, is when the actual NHL free agency happens. So that's going to be an insane week. But without further ado, what am I doing today? Well, of course, I'm breaking down picks 1 through 22, which is something I've never done before in my previous mock drafts. And previously, I've only done to all the way to the pick 15. But because of the fact that we have more clarity as to where teams are going to be drafting, and while I'm not doing all these picks for my final mock draft, I may very well do picks 1 through 31 if the Stanley Cup obviously happens by then, and it would, and if I'm prepared enough to make it all happen. So I'm definitely going to try. But until then, we're doing picks 1 through 22, and I can't wait to get into this. This took me hours to prepare. As I mentioned, this was a very tough list to make because there are many players I could see going to various teams. A lot of them are up in the air and others are very clear cut. But without further ado, let's get right into this mock draft. All right, guys, let's get right into it. If you're not new here, then you know the drill by now. I use Cap Friendly for this. If you go to their interactive button, you can make your own mock draft. So that's what we're doing right now. So let's hit this button and get right into it, shall we? So as you can see, they have all the teams listed off down here, 1 to 31. But as I mentioned, we will just be doing team picks 1 through 22. But still, I may do a final mock draft after, right before the draft happens, I should say, with picks 1 through 31. So stay tuned for that. But to start off, at pick number 1, this is the most easiest pick you can possibly imagine, and that is, of course, Alexis Lafreniere. You know, Alexis Lafreniere, the most coveted player out of this draft, and for good reason, is a huge part as to why this draft has been so coveted for years now, and could very well go down as one of the best draft classes in recent or long-term NHL history. Time will tell, but there's a reason for why this draft class is so coveted, and it's led by the likes of Alexis. He, of course, had 112 points in 54 games, and the KHL this past season has just been a monster on every level between his tournaments, playing for Canada, and of course playing in QMJHL, playing for the same team that of course Sidney Crosby is from. So a lot of hype behind him, the left winger. I cannot wait to see him in a Rangers uniform. As a Rangers fan myself, I'm beyond ecstatic, and if you've been following me, then you know that. But Alexis Lafreniere will be in the lineup for the Rangers right away, and their top 9 and then top 6 shortly after, I would assume, and he is surely going to have quite the future with this Rangers team. Just an amazing all-around player, elite playmaking and scoring ability, loves to lead the rush, being the main guy, whether 5-on-5, bringing into the offensive zone or on special teams as a power play quarterback. He really controls the play when he enters that offensive zone, and he has a big body too. He's 6'1". He really knows how to get the puck from others as well. He has a decent defensive game too. His overall game is just ridiculous, truly, and I cannot wait to see him in a Rangers uniform. But next up, at number 2, the LA Kings are going to, of course, select Tim Stützle. Now, already we're getting into some controversy, right? Why Tim Stützle? Well, I touch on this, and I even did a video debating between the two, who's better between Stützle and Byfield, and I'll put that in the description down below, of course. But Stützle, in my opinion, will be a better fit for the LA Kings solely because of the fact that he is a left winger and a centerman, so he can play that wing, which brings more versatility to this team that's already deep in their prospect pool when it comes to their centerman. Of course, having the likes of Gabriel Velarde already in the lineup, and guys like Alex Turcotte as well. So you can put Stützle on the wing need be. You don't have to, but you can, and I think that definitely helps him out. Of course, Stützle was amazing this past season, and Dell, playing in a German elite league like Dell as an 18-year-old, created a rookie record for most points per game with 0.82, I believe. So he has been ridiculous and really skyrocketed over the past year in draft rankings, and Stützle just displays an unbelievable set of skills. He has silky smooth hands, he has amazing agility as well, and can really get around defensemen with ease, and he just has so much potential. He arguably has the most potential in this entire draft class. So because of that reason, that is what just got him over the hump past Byfield, in my opinion. But Byfield is, of course, going at number 3 to the Ottawa Senators. No doubt about it. Byfield is an amazing player as well. If Alexis Lafreniere wasn't in this draft, there would be a very strong debate for Byfield going first, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him go first if Lafreniere wasn't here. But because of the fact that he isn't a Lafreniere draft class, that is why he's not going first. But regardless, Byfield is such an amazing centerman as well, one of the most complete centermen in this entire draft class. Has great two-way ability as well, has a ridiculous shot, might I add, and he can put up the points for sure. He had 82 points in 45 games in the OHL this past season, and he really really looks like he will make the NHL, if not right away, then definitely just after a year, in my opinion. He has so much potential behind him. Coming into this Ottawa Senators team will do great, be the leader in their prospect pool already, and they have a very deep prospect pool, especially when it comes to centermen. So Byfield is going to be ridiculous in the NHL sooner rather than later. He's a big guy. He's 6'4", over 200 pounds. He can really be hard on the puck as well. And while, say, he might get stick lifted here and there, he's going to continue to grow, continue to get stronger. I think this is only the beginning to what we see from him. He's been compared to a lot of guys like Evgeny Malkin, and for good reason. His hands are ridiculous. He's so fast for his size too, which reminds me a lot in a sense of Chris Kreider as a Rangers fan, especially just seeing him take it down the ice into the offensive zone, either along the boards or down the middle. Long legs, long strides, but before you know it, he's already in front of the net. He's just so fast for his size and is really one of the main reasons what separates him for the rest from other guys in this draft class. But next now, at number 4, and something that I didn't think I was going to come doing, is picking Lucas Raymond for the Detroit Red Wings. Now, in my last mock draft, I had, of course, Marco Rossi going to the Red Wings, and that is still very well a possibility, but Raymond has been really skyrocketing lately as to where he's going to go. There are a lot of scouts that believe he's deserving to even be top 3, possibly above the likes of, say, Tim Stützle or Byfield, one of them, which is crazy. But Raymond has so much potential behind him, has some of the most potential in this entire draft class, and of course, he just is ridiculous. He had 10 points in 33 games in the SHL, but take this into account. He plays bottom feeder minutes. I mentioned this before. I'm not going to beat a dead horse here, but he normally plays in that bottom 6 on that 4th line, gets a little to no opportunity, but when he is out there, he's making the most of his abilities against men in the SHL. He has been unbelievably impressive, is one of the best playmakers in this entire draft, can shoot the puck really well too, and he's just so creative. One of the more creative players, like Stützle as well, in this draft class. He has silky smooth hands. If you've seen some of his highlights, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. He's an amazing overall player, and he's easily one of the guys that could go down as one of the best players out of this entire draft class in just a couple years. I expect so much from Raymond, and I really think he's going to get slept on by many going into the years coming. He's just ridiculous. But next out, at number 5, the Ottawa Senators are going to pick Marco Rossi. Now, look, before I go further, I should say, yes, I know. Why would they pick 2 centermen, especially in that top 5? Byfield is a lock, no question. Him or Stützle, it's one or the other, you would think, right? But when it comes to 5, Marco Rossi is such an underrated player in this class, and I don't know why he's not getting enough credit he deserves. I get it, he's smaller in stature, he's only 5'9", so that's probably why, which is upsetting, because I hate the stereotyping that goes on with scouts thinking that, oh, this guy's smaller stature. It doesn't matter what his point production is or his overall play. He's going to fall in the draft because of his size and nothing more, and I think that's kind of ridiculous. Marco Rossi is one of the best skills in all this draft class. He's a ridiculous set of hands, amazing playmaking ability. He gets in front of the net constantly. He makes things happen with ease and is very creative as well, and he's just so sound with his overall game. Playing, of course, in the OHL for the Ottawa 67s nonetheless, which would really make this story even better, seeing him stay in Ottawa, not having to do an adjustment to a different city or anything like that. Of course, Rossi had 120 points in 56 games this past season, including 81 assists. Ridiculous. Marco Rossi, do not sleep on this guy. And yes, I know they have a deep prospect pool as it is with their centermen, but it's a good problem to have. And if they go down the road and Rossi and Byfield really become those guys, they're going to make room for them in the lineup, and they could easily trade away some other, say, high-tier prospects they have if they feel that Rossi and Byfield are ahead of them and still get quite the return. So the Sens are in good hands. I know that, say, I would pick Drysdale or Sanderson to get a defenseman here, but you can't pass up Rossi. You just can't, in my opinion. And yes, this might be a little biasly speaking, but he is a superb talent. And if he falls out of top 5, I truly believe the Ottawa Senators would regret it mightily for years to come. But next now, at number 6, the Anaheim Ducks are going to, of course, take Jamie Drysdale. Now, look, Jamie Drysdale may not be the perfect fit right away for Anaheim, but I think he will definitely be a solid fit for them. They could use that help on defense as well. Their scoring hasn't looked great either, but they could definitely need help in all aspects of that lineup. And Drysdale, of course, is the best puck-moving defenseman in this draft class, no question. He had 47 points in 49 games in the OHL, is great as a power play quarterback as well, and on 5-on-5. He can really take up the rush with ease and shoot the puck, really looking like another forward out there, and him and Anaheim would be great because they don't have a lot of really offensively minded defensemen. Yes, you can throw in the likes of the Camp Fowlers and Hampus Lindholms. They're very solid, but Drysdale would just make this team that much better and would really help that offense that could use it going forward. So I have Drysdale at 6. 6. And at 7, I of course am going to have Alexander Holtz. This is probably the one pick where I can say out of all my mock drafts that has stayed the same for the most part. Holtz, perfect fit for the New Jersey Devils. They need winger help, they need scoring help, and Holtz is arguably the best pure goal scorer in this entire draft class out of the likes of course, Alexis Lafreniere. So Holtz is going to be great. And another guy who hasn't put up a lot of points in the SHL, but don't let that phase you. Trust me. If you look at his stats, he has 16 points in 35 games in the SHL and in a limited role like Raymond as well. So take that into account. He has a lethal shot and is fully expected to have a ridiculous amount of potential and really grow tremendously over these next couple years into the NHL. Holtz, you got to love him. He will be a perfect fit with the New Jersey Devils along the likes of Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes. Next now, at number 8, we are going to have, this is going to be interesting. We're going to have Cole Perfetti. Perfetti, I believe I had him as the Sabres a couple mock drafts ago, but he looks like a very strong fit. He plays the center position mainly, but he can play the left wing, and these are things that the Sabres desperately need help with. They need more guys, especially behind the likes of course, Jack Eichel, and while they do have a decent prospect pool with their centerman as it is, bringing in a guy like Perfetti, whether you have him on the center or the wing, is going to be great. He is such a sound two-way centerman, and while he may not be as flashy as some other players, he put up ridiculous numbers this past season that should not go unrecognized. Of course, when you look at Perfetti's stats, he had 111 points in 64 games in the OHL. He was ridiculous, and he is a guy who's getting slept on by many, but he's definitely deserving of being in the top 10. He's a guy that some view as a bust candidate. I don't see that happening with Perfetti. I think he would go to the Sabres lineup almost surely. If I would assume he'd be in the lineup in a year or two, right? And he would do great for them behind Jack Eichel or on the wing of Jack Eichel, possibly as a left winger. Who knows? But he has great playmaking ability, one of the better playmakers in this entire draft class, and do not sleep on him. He is another that is fully expected to blossom into quite a player in the NHL. But next now, at number 9, the Minnesota Wild are going to take Jack Quinn. Now, I've debated between some other wingers before, but Jack Quinn just seems like the best fit here in my opinion. He's arguably the best goal scorer in this draft class out of the likes of Holtz, of course, and Alexis Lafreniere. But Quinn has been remarkable, playing along the likes of Marco Rossi as well, but he's not a product of him by any means for the Ottawa 67s. What he did this past year with the 67s was ridiculous. He had 89 points in 62 games, including 50+ goals. That is ridiculous. He has a lethal shot, will get in the nitty gritty in the offensive zone too. He's not afraid to give up his body, will get in a fight if he needs to. He's an agitating type player, a pesky player that will shoot the puck from every which way. He can be in the left dot as a righty, or he can be on the right side. He could be around on the power play. He could be hard-nosed in the net. He doesn't care how he gets the puck in the net. It's just a matter of getting the puck in the net. He has a great offensive ability, and defensive ability isn't lacking much at all, and he really looks like he will go in this top 10 of this year's draft. But next now, at number 10, the Winnipeg Jets are going to take Antoine Lindell. But I want to make something clear. That was so difficult to figure out, because if you look at this Winnipeg Jets team currently, they have huge gaping holes on defense, especially on that left side and right side as well. But they definitely need help on their defense regardless. But their center depth is lacking too. Now, do I think Winnipeg is going to address this via free agency and trades? I do. But even then, Antoine Lindell, you just can't pass on him here. As much as Jake Sanderson would be a good fit here, and don't get me wrong, it won't surprise me to see Sanderson go to the Jets at 10. So don't be surprised by that if it happens. I think this was really a coin flip, but I'm taking Antoine Lindell here. He's arguably one of my favorite players in this entire draft class, is the best two-way centerman in the game, in my opinion, out of this draft class. And while it isn't far off from others, he is just ridiculous. He had 28 points in over 44 games in the Liga this past year, 44 games to be exact, and he looks like a monster as an 18-year-old playing against men in the Finnish Elite League. He's just so superb, and while he isn't as fast and as flashy as some other guys, offensively, he can definitely put up the points for you, and he can be your main guy on the penalty kill as well. 5-on-5, his back checking and forechecking is truly superb, and he looks like a possible Selke winner in the near future of his young career. He's just that good and would be perfect for the Winnipeg Jets as that second line centerman or in that top 9, depending on if they say make a trade for a top 6 center this offseason. So we'll see what happens there, but Lindell, perfect fit for the Winnipeg Jets. Next now, at 11, we have Seth Jarvis going to, of course, the Predators. Now, Jarvis was one where I could see him going to multiple destinations, and it's still possible, but the Preds need help with that scoring. I think they have holes all throughout their lineup. Their defense didn't look great at all this past year, but they still do have a core group when it comes to their defense, led by the likes of Roman Josi, Ekholm, and of course Ellis. But regardless, Seth Jarvis in this offense is something they desperately need in the coming years. He's one of the better goal scorers in this entire draft class too, and plenty would debate that he's better than Jack Quinn. I understand those debates, but if you look at what Jarvis has done, he had 98 points in 58 games in the WHL, including 40 goals. He's a speedy winner as well, has a very strong two-way game. He's a little smaller in size, but that is not going to phase him. I fully expect him to be quite the goal scorer in the NHL, and if he is in the league in a couple years, that'll be great for the Predators because they would assumably be in a win now stage around then still. Yes, they had a down year this year, but their window is still open. How long is it open for? I'm not sure, but I trust in David Poile, their GM. He's one of the better GMs in the NHL to make the right moves to keep this team relevant going forward, and Seth Jarvis could really be a homegrown talent for the Predators as needed, because if you look at their offense, they are not known for having a lot of homegrown talent from the scoring. If you look at this guys in the lineup, Philip Forsberg, they didn't draft, obviously. Matt Duchene, they didn't draft. When it comes to Victor Arvidsson, they did draft, I believe, but they don't have a lot of those guys that can really be huge in their top 6 or top 9, and Seth Jarvis, in my opinion, would be a very strong fit for them when it comes to goal scoring. But next now, at number 12, I have Jake Sanderson going to the Panthers. Now, Sanderson is a guy who I'm not sure if he's going to fall out of the top 10 because there is a lot of promise behind him, but Sanderson is viewed by many scouts and many teams apparently as one of the better defensemen in this draft, possibly the best defenseman in this draft when it comes to overall two-way game, or at least defensively speaking. Sanderson is easily the best player coming out of the USHL, the US development team this past year, of course, but regardless, Sanderson put up some decent numbers this past year, had 14 points in 19 games in the USHL, and while he isn't known for his point scoring now, he can provide it at times when needed. So it's just a matter of what is expected of Sanderson. He is a guy who will give you minutes each and every night. You can expect 20 to 25 minutes with this guy, and that's what so many teams value him as from all the reports that I've seen, and that's why Sanderson can go so high in this draft, because he can come in the NHL almost right away. In my opinion, I think I could see him in the league as soon as next year, or at least in a year, and he will be huge for the Florida Panthers that need help defensively. No question. That was evident these past couple years. So Sanderson on that left side would be great for them. He's a bigger body defenseman too, and I can't say enough good things about him. He's really a sleeper, a guy that can eat those chunk of minutes and do it under the radar as a more defensively sound defenseman, but a very solid one with plenty of potential. But next up now, at number 13, I have the Carolina Hurricanes picking, yes, you also have Askarov. This is one that many would expect too, and while there's a possibility Askarov could be chosen with the, say, other picks, whether it be Edmonton, Pittsburgh, or even before that. I think there's a gap between, you know, the 8th and 9th overall pick all the way to, say, the 17th overall pick. I think Askarov could go anywhere in between there. There's so much reason to be in love with this kind of goaltender. He's viewed as one of the better goaltenders that we've seen in recent memory over the past 2 decades. There's a reason why he's so coveted to go in this first round, and I understand it perfectly. Askarov playing in the KHL, of course, for Scott St. Petersburg, but also really playing in the VHL, at least this past season. He had 18 appearances and had a goals allowed average of 2.45 and a save percentage of 920. So very solid stats there. And while Askarov isn't necessarily doesn't have a lot of games under his belt as a KHL goaltender, there's all the reason to believe that he is the next big deal. I believe he's around 6'3", 6'4", a bigger size Russian goaltender that I fully expect to be a franchise talent for whichever team takes him. He's ridiculously poised. He's been compared to the likes of Carey Price, which is ridiculous, but that's just how good this guy is, and I could see him going to many teams. I discussed him as possibly going to the Toronto Maple Leafs if they were to acquire him in the draft, but I'm not sure if he's going to fall all the way there. It is a possibility though, right? But as of right now, all Carolina Hurricanes fans seem to want Askarov at 13, so I'm giving it to them right here. But next now, at number 14, for the Edmonton Oilers, they're going to take Dawson Mercer. And no, I did not mean to click Dawson Mercer. We're going to take Dawson Mercer. Okay. Dawson Mercer is a guy who, I don't know why Hendrix Lapierre just went there, but regardless, Dawson Mercer for 14 is a guy, in my opinion, that is one of the better goal scorers in this year's draft too. While he may struggle a little bit in his transition game, he really makes up for it. He's a very speedy winger as well, and he can pick up with the likes of Connor McDavid and Leon Drysdale that could definitely use winger help, no question. He's not the fastest winger in this draft by any means, but he has goal scoring potential as well, and he can put up the points. There's a reason why scouts are so up and down about him. They have people thinking he's going to the top 10, people that thinks he's going to go in the 20s. He's all over the place, but Mercer, regardless, had 60 points in 42 games this past season, of course, and I expect a lot from him. I think he's going to be quite the stud for the Edmonton Oilers. He may need to work on his skating a little bit, but regardless of that, I think he would be a perfect fit along the likes of one of Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, or both of them at times throughout that lineup. So Mercer, I think, is going to be going to the Edmonton Oilers at 14. Now, 15, Hendrix Lapierre is not going at 15. I don't know why that just happened. So let's see if we can adjust this real quick. Okay, I can adjust it. Okay, all right. Sorry that took so long. Regardless, I think the next guy that is going to be up for the... Where are we at now? I'm losing myself. I'm sorry, guys. This is just taking me a hot second. But, okay, we're at Toronto's pick with a 15th overall pick. It's not Pittsburgh. It says Pittsburgh, but it's not. It's Toronto, and they're going to take, of course, if they don't get the goaltender, in my opinion, they're going to go with Braden Schneider, but it's a matter of finding him. Here he is. Braden Schneider, a very solid defenseman in this draft, viewed as one of the top 5 defensemen. This entire draft class is filled with offensive talent, though. That's why you won't see many defensemen in this first round, in my opinion. But Braden Schneider, a very solid right-hand defenseman, a puck-moving defenseman too, but is known for more of his stay-at-home game. He's very sound defensively, which I think would do the Toronto Maple Leafs a lot of good. He had 42 points in 60 games, in my opinion, and he is really a guy that can be in this lineup in a couple years, hopefully, and help them tremendously on defense, which is something they need without question. We all know they're gaping holes on defense. It's been evident these past couple years. It's like beating a dead horse with saying Kyle Dubas addresses this defense properly. He would finally be doing that, in my opinion, besides getting Jake Muzzin, because I don't think Tyson Barrie was a good acquisition when it came to defense. That's just my opinion. But when it comes to Braden Schneider, he would be a very strong fit at 15, and it should have the Leafs logo here. I don't know why they didn't update it yet. Cap friendly. Get on to that, guys. But regardless, next up at the 16th overall pick, we are going to have a guy that a lot of people aren't necessarily expecting to go here, but it's going to be Noel Gunler. And Noel Gunler is a guy that, in my opinion, has so much potential. He's more raw. He struggles with his defensive game a little bit. He struggles that teams believe that he doesn't really put forth the most effort at times. But I think that's really a lot more than what the reality is when it comes to his situation. I don't think he has these huge problems that people are thinking. I think he's going to continue to adjust his game as he grows and gets older. But Noel Gunler is one of these guys that could come out as one of the better guys out of this entire first round and would be quite the steal for the Montreal Canadiens, in my opinion. There's a lot of hype behind him for good reason. He's unbelievably fast, has great skating ability. It's just a matter of putting it all together, being more focused. And I think him being with a team like the Habs that could definitely use this winter help for sure would not hurt by any means as they continue this kind of retool / rebuild, whatever you want to call it. But Noel Gunler especially had very strong stats at 13 points in 46 games for the SHL, but again, in a more limited role as a teenager playing in the Swedish Elite League. But Noel Gunler, I expect a lot from him. I think he's really going to surprise some people years down the road. But next now, at the 17th overall pick, I have for the Chicago Blackhawks, they're going to take a centerman, and that center is going to be... Where is he? There he is, Maverick Bourque. Maverick Bourque is a guy that I didn't know too well until a couple months ago, but after scanning him especially, he has a very strong playmaking ability, decent two-way game as well, and is a guy that the Blackhawks could benefit from greatly, adding more center depth for sure, as the Blackhawks could really use help in most directions in this lineup, especially on defense and their goaltending. But Maverick Bourque, I think, would be solid for them in years going forward, and assuming that they're still going to have some of these players from this core group in a couple years, I expect Bourque to be in the lineup then. He could very well be a very solid center for them in their top 6 or top 9. So Bourque, if you don't know him, he of course had 71 points in 49 games in the QMJHL. Very solid numbers, and is a guy who can easily be another sleeper pick in the latter part of this first round. But next now for the New Jersey Devils is from the Arizona Coyotes trade with Taylor Hall, of course. The Devils are going to take... Where is he? Come on. They're going to take Caden Gooley. Now, I know you might be wondering, Gooley, really? Why don't they go for more offense? I will get to that because they have one more first-round pick. Oh, wait, maybe I won't get to that. Oh, wait, I will. They have the 20th overall pick from Vancouver. I don't know why I blinked for a second. But Caden Gooley, a very solid puck-moving defenseman that would do great. And look, it doesn't hurt to have a puck-moving defenseman. New Jersey has struggled with it. They tried to get it with PK Subban. That really hasn't been the case, obviously. Everything has kind of went downward. Will Butcher was never the guy that what he originally was in his rookie year for them. And I don't know what the future holds for them, but they need help on defense, no question. So a guy like Caden Gooley, who's another top 5 defenseman in this draft, in my opinion, would do very solid for them as a puck mover, of course. Gooley had 40 points in 64 games in the WHL as a left-hand defenseman and could be very solid for them in a couple years. They need help on defense. There's no questioning that. So bringing a guy like Gooley who can move the puck as well, provide some scoring, it'll only benefit them going forward. But next now, at the 19th overall pick, the Calgary Flames are going to take Connor Zerry. Let's find Connor Zerry. There he is. Connor Zerry is a guy who, yes, he struggles a little bit with his skating ability, but overall, I think he's going to make up for it with his overall play. Zerry, I don't expect to be in the lineup for a couple of years, but look, the Flames need help defensively. I get that, but offensively, they can never hurt from having some center depth. Of course, we don't know what the future holds for the likes of Sam Bennett, of course, or even Mikael Backlund. I would assume Backlund would continue to be there for a bit, but Bennett, especially in that bottom six, I'm not sure. So Zerry is a guy who provides a lot of potential, has strong playmaking ability, can shoot the puck as well, and is sound in the defensive zone. But Zerry, of course, had 86 points in 57 games this past season, and it really can be the playmaker as well. Has plenty of assists. I believe he had just under 50 assists this past season playing in the WHL. So expect a lot from Connor Zerry. And there's like I said, this draft class is ridiculous. Zerry and a lot of other drafts could very well be going higher, possibly even top 10. But just because how deep this draft class is, that's why he's sleeping into the latter part of this first round. But getting to the 20th overall pick, we are back to the New Jersey Devils, and they're going to pick a guy that I don't think a lot of people know about unless you've actually been scouting and following players. They're going to pick a Russian winger and Rodion Amirov, and I apologize if I completely butchered that name. I did not mean to, but regardless, Amirov only had 2 points in just over 20 games, of course, in the KHL, but do not let that phase you. There's so much potential behind this guy and could very well go down as one of the best wingers to come out of this draft. There's so much potential behind him. He has some elite playmaking ability and can really shoot the puck at times as well. So be on the lookout for Amirov. A lot of people have him high in their scouting reports, and other people don't even have him in the first round. So it's a matter of how long will it take him to come to the NHL given his contract status, because that's normally the case with guys in the KHL. But regardless, I know that New Jersey does like their Russians at times as well, so I think a guy like Amirov would be a strong fit on their wing. They will definitely not hurt to have more winger depth for sure, and if he can come in the lineup in a couple years, that could do great, assuming if Gusev is on that team as well still. By then, who knows what will happen. I think they could be quite the connection. I know that they have some other Russian prospects too. Not that I'm focusing on Russian in general, I'm just saying more the reason that they already have familiarity with Russians themselves, so it will not hurt by any means. But I think he would be a very strong fit for them, for the Devils at 20. But next up, we have, of course, the Columbus Blue Jackets, and this is a guy who in other mock drafts I've had really got picked a lot sooner, but I finally have Dylan Holloway going to the Columbus Blue Jackets. He fits their system perfectly, in my opinion. Holloway playing in the NCAA this past year, and I don't know how much longer he's going to be there, for another year or two, who knows. But Holloway is a very sound two-way winger. He's a very strong for his defensive game, given the fact that he is a winger especially, and I think he'd be perfect under Tortorella's system, especially assuming Tortorella is still there when Holloway gets the bump up to make the NHL level. But Holloway, regardless, had 17 points in 35 games this past year in college hockey, and really looks like a very sound guy that you can throw on the penalty kill as well, or, you know, maybe even power play, depending on the depth of your offense there. But regardless, he's a very solid winger, and one that it would be great for a team that is kind of more in a win now stage, and the Columbus Blue Jackets are just that. They're going to continue to contend over the next couple years, and Holloway can make their lineup sooner rather than later. And to finish off this video with my New York Rangers, they're going to select a centerman, and it is going to be Hendrix Lapierre. Now, there's a lot of speculation that maybe they'd go for a guy like a Connor Zerry, or possibly a Maverick Bourque if he's still there, or even Jacob Perreault. But I think Hendrix Lapierre would make a lot of sense for this Rangers team that needs center depth, of course. If there's one thing kind of lacking in their prospect pool, it is center. So I think that would be great for them, of course. And Lapierre, he has been injury prone, which has been a huge issue as to why he isn't higher in this draft, but he has very superb two-way ability for his center game. He has been compared to the likes of Patrice Bergeron, which is really stretching it. There's no way in heck he's going to be a Patrice Bergeron, in my opinion, but Lapierre is a very strong centerman. Of course, playing in the QMJHL, it's only 17 points in 19 games this past season due to his injuries, of course, but he is a guy who is really low risk, high reward with so much potential, and I think he would be a great fit for this Rangers team that could definitely need help on this defensive situation at that center depth. Hendrix Lapierre in the lineup in a couple of years possibly could be great for them in their top 9, and that bottom 6 to start, especially a very superb two-way guy that has the potential to possibly be a Selke nominee one day if he stays healthy and continues to put everything together. But that's going to conclude this video. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. I know that I didn't do picks 1 through 31. I just did to 22. I apologize if you're upset about that, but I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you liked my picks and if you agree, make sure to let me know in the comments below, even if you disagree. I would love to hear your thoughts on everything. And if you're new to the channel, you like this kind of hockey content, hit a like, hit subscribe, help us reach 1K. We are so close to there. We're just around 200 subscribers away, which is insane. But once we get there, I'm going to be pumping out even better content too. Things are only getting better on this channel. I'm glad to have everyone along along on the ride with me thus far. It means a lot to me. But make sure to stay tuned as well for possibly a final mock draft that I would do, assumably right before the actual NHL draft happens in less than a month. So stay tuned for that and check out my previous videos, especially regarding, say, Stützle versus Byfield. Who's better? I think you enjoy that video if you like this kind of draft stuff. But thank you all so much, guys, and I'll be back very, very soon.